Welcome to the People of Nature podcast, the only conservation optimism podcast focusing on unheard stories from India's wilderness. We are very proud that we are one of the recipients of the India Science Outreach Grants. Today we have with us Dr. Shruti Kulkarni. Welcome Shruti to our studio.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
So let me introduce you to our audience, Shruti.
Yes.
Dr. Shruti Kulkarni works as environmental consultant for Directorate of School Education, Kohima, Nagaland. She is involved in a project called NECTAR, Nectar, which is World Bank aided project in Kohima, Nagaland. Shruti pursued her doctorate in the field of biodiversity. Her PhD topic was study on bioindicator taxa such as birds and butterflies of Manuli Reserve Forest and Amba village of Kolhapur district and Maharashtra state. Shruti has extensively worked in the domains of environmental education, community participation, stakeholder engagement, biodiversity conservation, and preparation of IEC materials. She is part of the global organization WIN, Women in Nature Network. Earlier, she was facilitator of Jagriti Digital Yatra. Shruti so far has delivered more than 50 talks regarding environment, education, and biodiversity. She has 4 research papers to her credit. Moreover, she keeps on writing numerous popular science articles in various magazines and newspapers. So, in a nutshell, we have a researcher turned into educator in our studio. So, welcome once again, Shruti, to the People of Nature podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a really great opportunity talking to you guys, and I'm really feeling honored. So participating this wonderful podcast.
Thank you, Shruti. Thank you. So, Shruti, you know how this podcast goes, right? I mean, we will be asking you questions and then you'll be revealing your journey, your story. And I guess that's going to spread a good conservation, message to our community.
Yeah,
So
sure.
I'm going to ask you a set of questions. The first question, we would like to know what exactly was the situation or the moment? Where did you think that you want to pursue a career in environmental education? Was it a childhood dream or it just happened?
Yeah. Actually, it's a really childhood dream. I think I was in fourth or fifth standard, and during our childhood, so we were lucky because we were 90s kids, and that time we were playing around. In our school campus, there were lot of tamarind trees, and we
Oh.
all girls went for the eating tamarinds that time. So we
Mhm.
collected some tamarinds from trees, and when I saw the tamarind on my hand, and suddenly one thought came in my mind: if these 4 5 seeds now producing like numerous thousands of tamarind again, so it's very interesting. First time I was curious about the amazing nature's these creation, and that time first time thought came on my mind. Yeah, it's really amazing if it's any study on these type of nature study, so I want to do that. And that was like first thought during my childhood, and fortunately I completed my graduation in botany BSc. And then during my bachelor, I watched one slideshow, this because I studied in Kolhapur, that's my hometown. So that time Suhas Vaingankar sir, he is a very good botanist, and he's a very good environmental educator. That time he conducted one slideshow on plants of Western Ghats, and that slideshow like changed my direction. Like I want to do the anything regarding this
Mhm.
field. And that time I took a decision that I just live my dream with this domain, and I just then entered in a master of environmental science. And till now I'm just amazing. I'm just curious about again
Mhm.
wonders of nature, and now I'm really happy that I fulfill my childhood dream now, and I'm working for the amazing nature and amazing domain of environmental and biodiversity field.
Wow, Shruti. So that's I mean, the many people I have been interviewing, many of them tell me the similar stories. So there were roots in their childhood which really put them into this field.
Yeah,
So there's very, I think, when a child becomes interested in nature, eventually
yeah,
he would become, conservationist. So you need to
yeah,
have that connection built.
yeah,
So great. I mean, there is a lot of commonalities in a lot of ecologists, people
yeah.
working in conservation, people working in nature. Even for me, it was similar thing that
Okay,
I entered in this field because since childhood I had that like. So,
okay.
Shruti, you have done a good amount of work in your own hometown in Manoli Reserve Forest in Amba village in Kolhapur
Yeah.
district. So that was your PhD, right? So can you tell us briefly about your PhD work?
Yeah, actually, mm, during my because before PhD, I was working as a professional, and during my fellowship with the BIF Bharati Agro Industry Foundation, that time I was working with the Warli, Konkana, and Mahadev Koli tribal communities of Maharashtra, which is a tribal block of. Earlier it was Thane, and now it's a Palghar district. So it's a Jawar
Right,
and
right, right,
Mokhada tribal block. So I was working
correct.
with the different tribals, and that time, fortunately, uh, apart from my all works, we were discussing lot of things, and suddenly one tribal person, he was explaining me regarding indicators, like in not a term of indicators. He was explaining this bahava tree now is like full bloom, and when it's full bloom, within 2 days maybe it will be raining somewhere outskirts of the Jawar. So that
Okay.
amazed me, that fascinating. When I heard this story, I really fascinating about this thing, and my interest towards the indicator species, it's like now I was taking deep dive into the field of indicator species, and then
Mhm.
I chose this topic as a bioindicator first thing.
Right,
And for the Western Ghats, you already aware it's a world natural heritage sites. We really
yeah, yeah.
fortunate there that we are living in the these amazing Western Ghat belt, not just like highest GDP and other amazing diverse area, but apart from that, Amba, why Amba is the rationale behind that. So it was corridor of Sahyadri Tiger Reserve and Radhanagri Wildlife Sanctuary, and that time it was not protected area, just reserve forest. So I just when I was visiting during my other field studies, I thought it's a very crucial area, because that time it was pressurized by various anthropogenic activities like mining, over tourism, developmental activities. So I thought how we can save this area, or how we propose this area as a protected area. And fortunately, some bit I contributed during that declaration. Now it's a protected area, Manoli Reserve area. Now it's a corridor of Sahyadri Tiger Reserve, and we submitted
Mhm.
some documents to Forest Department regarding diversity of birds and butterflies. And these
Okay.
indicator species played important role during my study. It's actually comparative study of residential area and proper forest area. So that time we just conducted some sampling techniques with these line transact and point count methods. I documented bird and butterflies of both areas, and after documented this diversity, again we correlate with their feeding and nesting behaviors, and that it's showing like
Mhm.
these birds are very associated with the typical habitat. So I selected some habitats like plateaus, then forest area, then streams, then paddy fields. different these habitat I chose for my study, and then so comparing with these data and abundance, frequency, and they had different behaviors. Finally, I concluded some bioindicator species of birds and butterflies. For birds, for forest area, it's obviously hornbill species. They are good indicator of forest area, because we
Mhm.
aware their nesting behavior is very peculiar. They are making
Yeah,
nest on the trunk of big trees, so
yeah,
they
yeah.
always need good forest area for their survival, for their nesting. So
Mhm.
that one conclusion. And butterflies, some butterflies usually like, if you know the blue oak leaf, that blue oak leaf is
Mhm.
usually found in a forested area, because they always prefer habitat of damp, moist, streamy, dense forest area. So that's one more indicator species I found during my surveys and during my research. So
Okay.
it's like short, it's very brief, PhD research is
Yeah.
not just, yeah, it's a 3 years data collection,
Okay.
and then analyze with the different statistical method, and I
Right.
prove that these some indicator species.
Okay, great. So, I mean, that's really fantastic, and I understand that PhD research is not easy to be summarized in just 5 minutes. But
Yeah,
yeah, you must have, like, I think, a wide array of experience working in this forest, and you visited the multiple habitats, you saw
yeah,
multiple species, and also try to see the correlations between their
yeah,
habitats. So wow, I mean that's amazing, amazing piece of work. I think very few people have worked in this area before, right?
yeah, yeah,
Right. Okay. So Shruti, now you are into a different role altogether. So your PhD is done. You are
yeah,
working in the field, and you have been doing multiple consultancy works also, right?
yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your experience doing consultancy work?
Yeah, sure. Actually, it's a good question, because a lot of our conservationists and the students who are background of environmental science studies, they always having
Mhm.
questions like, what outreach, what are the exposures we have after our
Right.
graduation or post graduation or whatever research we done.
Yeah.
So consultancy is really nowadays, it's like growing, and it's like very vast domain nowadays, because
Mhm.
just understand, consultancy is just like you are the service provider. So different government
Correct.
departments, different organization, different funding agencies, they have money, but they don't know
Mhm.
how to use that money for different purposes. So they
Right.
hire some expert consultant. It's not just
Mhm.
environment, it's different subject. It's like monitoring evaluation, then finance,
Okay.
then project management, different consultants are there. So
Right.
they hire this expert consultant for specific component, and these
Mhm.
consultants are giving advice and giving proper framework for the project or for whatever they
Okay.
want to do in their domain. Like nowadays, in education, agriculture, and climate change, these three domains,
Mhm.
they have a good opportunities of different consultants. So because
Okay.
it's obviously, I already mentioned, because nowadays it's growing day by day. A lot of
Mhm.
funds coming, international organization funding agencies, they are providing funds for these core areas, because we already aware education in developing countries like India, Indonesia, these southeastern countries, they education sector in in these developing areas are is very crucial role playing in a futuristic approach or sustainable approach. So nowadays people are focusing on quality education, education for sustainable development, and third one is like how we survive ourselves. So that's why a lot of money
Okay.
funding is coming on these sectors. And
Mhm.
because of this money and finances came in the coming in these sectors, so it's crucial to play as an environmental expert, biodiversity expert. We have to play
Mhm.
very crucial role, giving them good advice, giving them good frameworks. And consultant role is not just giving them advice. We have to align our timelines with their duration, like
Mhm.
because these project based consultants, usually their timeline is very stringent and very restricted to 1 2 3 4 years. So we have to
Okay.
perform within 4 years with our expected outcomes. So we have
Mhm.
use our theoretical knowledge, practical
Right.
approaches, and whatever implementation we can do in our area. That's very
Right.
important. So
Right.
that skill you required in this field. So not just
Okay.
theoretical basic understanding of your subject, but how you implement your knowledge
Mhm.
in a sector of these I already mentioned, like climate change,
Yeah. Yeah.
agriculture, and education. How you implement these your skills, that's very
Mhm.
important in a consultancy gigs.
Right. So, I mean, I agree completely with you. I mean, the fields that you have been mentioning, there's a lot of work going on recently. Even corporates are pretty much involved in this,
Yeah,
and there is a scarcity of people who understand environment.
yeah,
So, that basically opens up a big market, or a lot of opportunities for the newcomers or the experienced people,
yeah,
being one of consultants.
yeah,
So you are currently working as a consultant with Directorate of Education in Nagaland,
yeah,
and this very interesting project you mentioned. It's Nectar. So can
yeah.
you tell us more about this project?
Yeah, sure. So it's not proper purely environmental project. It's education
Mhm.
project. So if
Okay.
Nectar is actually short form. So Nectar is Nagaland enhancing classroom teaching and resources. In government schools of Nagaland, they have a not skill teachers, not a good
Mhm.
infrastructure, not they don't
Right.
have lot of facilities. Lack of facilities is there. So government, World Bank funded to the
Mhm.
state government of Nagaland for the quality education purpose. So this
Okay.
quality education purpose, they have a lot of components, not just like teaching learning practices, like improved infrastructure, apart from soft
Mhm.
and hard skills both. But good part that as an environmental and social safeguards, World Bank having these stringent guidelines regarding environmental and social safeguards. So in our term, we is using as ESS, environmental social safeguards. So they set some benchmarks for perform you with this framework of environmental social. So first, obviously, we have to engage all these beneficiary stakeholder in our project. First objective of as an environmental consultant. Second, because Nagaland is majorly tribal state, so
Yeah.
lot of indigenous knowledge, lot of different tribal influences in the systems are there. So we have to understand these dynamics and how we take suggestion from these different communities in different districts, and we are using their suggestion as a guideline for the our implementation strategies. So we are
Right.
taking suggestion from the different communities, even though aligning different government departments. Currently I'm working in education department, but still we are aligning pollution control board, then Nagaland state disaster management, then environmental forest environment and climate change state department. So we aligning, and if their ongoing scheme is there, so we are aligning these schemes in our project. And third part, we are constructing some model schools in different 16 districts of Nagaland. So for that, some innovation, eco-friendly green buildings, we are using this concept in a model schools. And
Okay.
fourth one is compliances. We already know the sector of this environmental safeguard. We have to comply lot of international, national policy, rules, regulation framework. So we are aligning
Mhm.
these all state, national policies for the safeguards. and all
Right.
the cumulatively I am working as an environmental consultant for the project.
Okay. So that sounds a really innovative project. I mean, the name itself is so interesting.
Yeah,
Definitely a catchy name, and
yeah,
so many things they are doing. And I mean, this is just fabulous that government is putting so much of money in,
yeah,
enhancing the skills in students and
yeah,
putting them into this exposure to the environment. This
yeah,
amazing work. So, Shruti, you have also worked in various different domains, including sacred groves, right?
yeah.
So, uh, I think you worked with sacred groves trying to understand their potential for carbon sequestration.
Yeah.
So, we would also like to know more about that piece of research that you did.
Yeah, this research I did in 2012, I think.
Okay.
So earlier I mentioned when I was working with the BIF, so it was fellowship,
Mhm.
and that time I was working with these communities, and our project, which was funded by Praj Industries, and we were working
Okay.
on sacred group conservation through community participation. So
Okay.
one girl already took some initiatives, and I was like
Mhm.
that uh, bearer or torch
Mhm.
would leave the baton pass
Yeah.
on to me, and I started after certain point. Like she did some awareness and some alignments with the different
Okay.
departments and communities, but I did
Mhm.
actual implementation work that time. When we were conducting some seasonal surveys, that time,
Mhm.
yeah, one scientist from Agarkar, he was the retired Agarkar Research Institute scientist, Dr.
Okay.
DK Kulkarni. So
Mhm.
he suggested me, because that time it was like a lot of people were started working on carbon sequestration, because and people who are working in a conservation sector, they know the worth and value of sacred groves. They are live museum for us. It's very a good repository for our future, and for that concept we tried to calculate carbon sequestration of the areas. So I did some comparative studies of some two sacred groves, and that time manually, because 2012 it was not like used to with these internets and advanced tools. So I did that manually with the measuring of girth and height of the trees, and basis on these calculation, we calculated ground biomass, and we putting with the wood density, we calculated some this carbon sequestration for the 2 acre and 3 acres area. But good part that it was like understanding the correlation nowadays with the these carbon footprints, and now carbon neutral villages, then carbon zero villages. Now these terms are
Yeah.
trending with these carbon sector. So reducing our carbon footprints, these are really good resources.
Mhm.
And we know that these big trees, they like duration of their age of these trees, they are accumulated lot of carbon in their trunks, and it's really carbon sinking. It's helpful for the carbon sinking procedure, and reducing the percentage of that imbalance during of the anthropogenic activities. Carbon cycle is already
Mhm.
disturbed. With this
Okay.
initiative we can reduce these carbon footprints in our area. So this sacred
Yeah.
group and more plantation, if we protect these areas, so it's good to sequester carbon in a good manner. So that's good
Mhm.
initiative for our sustainable practices.
Right. So, I mean, yeah, that's interesting piece of work indeed. And I personally feel that carbon market as such is a very
Yeah,
fancy, word given by the corporate world to the,
yeah,
uh, to us as such. But
yeah,
we know the tree's worth, and we don't need to really. I mean, yeah, I mean, there are different perspectives on it, but I personally
yeah,
feel that a tree is a tree, and it does a lot of things which you cannot calculate. But carbon
yeah,
is just one of those, things that we try to calculate. So, so your work is, I think, is really a milestone, and we can perhaps we need to have urban sacred groves also, because sacred groves
y-
are generally in
yeah,
rural areas, far away
yeah,
from urban areas. But we
yeah,
need to seriously think about sacred groves in urban areas. I mean, we do have concepts like dense forestation or
yeah,
Miyawaki.
yeah,
There are pros and cons to it. I'm not
yeah,
going to go
yeah,
into
deep,
that deep,
yeah,
but all the relic patches of forest, if they are in the urban areas, they need to be protected
yeah.
this way or the other. So, Shruti,
True.
it seems that while you were working with BIOF earlier, or with Nectar now, or with the Nagaland government now, so you must be interacting a lot with the tribal communities as well, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, how has been this experience working with tribal communities in Maharashtra or in Nagaland or anywhere else wherever you have worked?
Yeah, you asked me like very close to my heart question. So it's always amazing working with these diverse communities, and
Mhm.
working with them is always enriching experience for me. And good part, because when I joined BIOF that time, why my mentor said that if you
Mhm.
going field with a blank slate, it's always
Okay.
you can write something on that blank slate. If you are like
Oh.
baggage with your masters and researchers
Mhm.
and whatever you have did in your past few
Yeah.
some years you spent in your academics, so it's not useful for you. That good advice, it's really helpful for me,
Mhm.
because when I work with the in earlier I mentioned that Maharashtra tribal block and even Nagaland block, I always open my ear to eagerly hear them, because they have a good source of different indigenous knowledge. So not just these indigenous knowledge we have to hear, and but they are giving direction of the resource management. So they are amazing good planners of resource management, and even though
Yeah.
practicing survival of science, lot of people that's domain, we are conservation scientists, and we know the this environmental science is the survival science of everyone. So they're giving you lot of tremendous small tricks how to survive in a drought area, how to survive in flood area, even though they are sharing lot of their daily life experiences. Like earlier I mentioned that they have these good observation skills, they have this deep knowledge about plants, birds, butterflies, or mammals. There's how to defend yourself, how to protect yourself. All these indigenous knowledge they have. So it's always amazing listening to them, learning from them, and they are not like a researcher, but they are researcher because they are barefoot botanists. They are vaidus. They know the medicinal purposes, they know the worth of trunks, roots, leaves, fruits, everything. So it's always just one I want thing I want to mention, the difference between Nagaland tribal area and Maharashtra tribal area. So yeah,
Yeah.
so it's very diverse.
Mhm.
First, though, I really face challenge of language, because Nagaland, interesting, they have a 16 different district and 16 different tribal languages, and they can't communicate with their own matlab, two different district people.
Mhm.
If they met somewhere outside of Nagaland,
Okay.
they can't communicate their own dialects, because their dialects are totally different from each other. So one
I see.
district is always like one state of northeast. So
Mhm.
understanding this scenario and complexity of the tribal block of Nagaland is always that bit challenging. But fortunately, Nagaland is having official language is English, so I can communicate
Mhm.
with lot of people. And Christianity, majority Christian people are here, so they 90% people can speak English. So at least some extent you can communicate with them. But
Right.
apart from still again their English like fluency, it's good. But again they are mixing their own dialects with the English language, so sometimes it's hard to
Right.
learn. So that's one
Right.
challenging part staying in Nagaland. And you already lot of people already aware Northeast is really difficult terrain with your
Yeah,
daily
yeah. Yes.
daily needs. For example, electricity, then
Mhm.
water, because Kohima is situated in a hilly area. So
Yeah.
it's like 5,000, I think 5,000 feet.
Mhm.
Sorry, 5,000 feet and some 3,000 meters, something like that.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to collect water from other areas. We have to save our water. It's like wise use
Mhm.
of water is necessity. We have to pay. It's not just
Right.
drinking water. I have to pay 2,000 rupees per month for just
Yeah.
my daily water needs. So
Wow.
that's two
Wow.
challenging things. And hats off to people who are staying in Northeast. They are really hard life, and they
Yes.
survive good because of their traditional practices. They survive till now.
Yeah, I mean, amazing. I mean, so you see that there is a definite difference, at least in communication from, we would say more advanced states. If you look at economy,
Yeah,
like Maharashtra versus Nagaland,
yeah,
and I mean, we all know that Northeast India is something which is, made up of mountains and beautiful forests and streams and rivers, but it is
yeah,
also at the same time, it's really difficult to live there if you are not from Northeast. So
yeah,
yeah, I think you have been to Maharashtra and now you have been to Northeast, so I think you can compare and understand, what are the difficulties that you are facing.
yeah,
So great, Shruti. We got to learn so many things from you so far. So you have been working deeply now in the environmental education field, and I think for many years now you are into this.
yeah.
So you're taking lectures or you're taking, talks, popular science articles you are writing. So what do you think about the overall goal of environmental education? Do you think that uh, environmental education is leading to some conservation action or
Yeah.
not?
Yeah, we have to now. So we already passed that awareness phase. Like earlier, though
Mhm.
people don't know the concepts and the terminologies, but now we
Yeah.
already passed that milestone. Now we have to
Mhm.
more focus on activity based environmental education. Fortunately, I was engaged with a lot of activities during Center for Environment during my work with the Center for Environmental Education, different projects like Maharashtra Gene
Mhm.
Bank and Western Ghat Eco Club
Okay.
schemes. Apart
Mhm.
from, even though Nagaland now Nectar, we also trying to practicing these little activity based modules or trainings, and we can how to
Mhm.
do that conservation measures, because
Right.
it's very important. Because if you're just giving lectures and just it's sometimes it's a bold statement, but I'm not I'm
Mhm.
against with the rally this rally thing. So we have to
Mhm.
stop this rally thing. We have to do some like activity based things, so at least people can
Okay.
understand how we do, like very
Right.
like small practices like making compost and
Mhm.
using wise use of electricity and water. Third is like how to conserve in your areas. Like sometime I
Mhm.
always during my sessions I'm always giving instruction to students like don't do much, just try to protect whatever
Mhm.
it's around you, like whatever terrace
Right. Right.
garden, whatever. For unfortunately some people couldn't do much, like they don't
Yeah.
have spaces, they don't have that what we call the time, money, and what other
Mhm.
factors. But we can do that small these initiatives that finally contributing some extent with the conservation practices or conservation measures. Like
Yeah.
uh, I'm huge obsession with the butterflies, so I
Mhm.
always to take like always conducting these lectures of butterfly gardens and all that, and always that fancy word butterfly gardens. Lot of people like
Mhm.
backfooted with this term because we don't have space, we don't have time, and we don't have money. So I'm always saying
Right.
you can just plant one curry leaves, that also giving you the 3/4 species of life cycles. life
Yeah.
cycle of 3 4 species. So it's
Right.
you have to just do one step ahead, and there is always way there. If there is
Right.
a wish, there's always way. So yeah, we have to more focusing on these actual action based conservation practices.
Uh-huh. Yeah, true that. So, Shruti, we are coming to the end of this podcast now, and there are like two questions we ask to every speaker. So, the first question to you is, as a woman scientist who is working in the Northeast India, what challenges have you faced?
Yeah, I think in earlier conversation I mentioned one that terrain is little difficult. It not
Yes,
just
yes.
as a woman scientist who are coming from plains. Now I'm
Mhm.
also used to terms that plains and hills. So I'm using this like plains means like
Yeah,
people who are coming from these Deccan plateaus and
yeah,
northern part of the India. When they coming,
right.
first, it's a very harsh weather here because
Mhm.
winter is very harsh, severely cold. During winter
Mhm.
time, people like us, it's hard to survive. We have to
Okay.
like acclimatize. We need like
Yeah.
that time to acclimatize here. That one challenge I face. And as a
Mhm.
woman scientist, not just northeast area. Fortunately, northeast area, India, northeastern India, it's like much safer than other parts of India
Mhm.
because of the tribal culture. Some extent, not Nagaland, but some extent, surrounding states are with the matriarchy. So
Right.
equality and the way they deal with the woman is quite better than
Mhm.
other parts of the people. But the
Okay.
as the earlier days, I faced challenge with the safety issues, not just
Okay.
northeast but other parts, because I'm solo traveling lot of areas. So
Mhm.
safety is
Yeah.
obviously first priority of every woman, not just woman, every scientist, because they are roaming around alone, they are collecting data, sometimes they are carrying very expensive things with them. So safety is a major concern with when you are like doing in a field studies. And
Yeah.
second, if we are saying with the northeastern area, that transportation is very very difficult because
Mhm. Yeah.
Nagaland also 80% hilly terrain. So if we commute from one place to others, it's very difficult, and you always depend on the taxi services. And because
Right.
the just one only option we have to depend on taxis, and they are charging like very high, like 1 kilometer 100 rupees. So if you are just
Right.
traveling 15 kilometers, so they are charging
Mhm.
you 1500 just for one way.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's bit challenging working in a northeast area. And roads are like some areas, the roads are really pathetic. So
Yeah.
it's very difficult to travel. Sometime our vehicles are stuck in muds, and
Mhm.
sometimes it's like skid with these terrain. So it's very difficult sometimes traveling in a field areas during monsoon, so it's very difficult. So that's two
Yeah.
challenge. So Naga people also are always asking me what you don't like about Nagaland. So I'm always saying these two things: weather and the road condition. They have to improve it. It's
Right.
very
Yeah.
difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I mean the linear infrastructure and the connectivity issues are there, in Northeast India or the remote areas of our country.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's not enough. Yeah.
Yeah, but that good part that because of that the the diversity is more intact, and it's a very
Correct.
good
Yeah, exactly.
condition.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So Shruti, the last question to you is, what is the message do you want to give to our audience?
Okay. So I'm always thinking like giving advice is always easy, but
Yeah.
as the experience of the 15 years of this domain and this field, I just want to suggest something. Like first,
Mhm.
who are working in a environmental biodiversity conservation sector, just try to visit every ecosystem, like every habitat, because more you visit field often, then you can understand thing very deeply. And not
Mhm.
just like everyone having their own interest, like someone wants to study on birds, someone wants to study on butterflies, someone
Right.
wants to insects or whatever, dragonflies, damson flies. But try to correlate these interdependencies or correlation, try to understand, because
Mhm.
sometimes also, even though good scientists also, they're just looking through the lens of their own domain. And
Right.
sometimes if they are giving conservation measures just that one lens, it's like after some years or some time, it's like useless for the whole conservation strategy. So not,
Correct.
if you are just want to study on birds, try to understand insect and
Mhm.
trees also, because it's interdependence and correlation. So if you just
Yeah.
want to correlate this thing, then you give better strategies. And these field, I always amazed, this field is like sky's limit, you can do whatever you want. It's still, people are working like last 50 years, still lot more to explore. So just
Yeah.
open your eyes, open your ears, and just fly in the sky.
Yeah, that's very true, Shruti. I think what you said, I completely agree with you, and I think I get that feeling because whenever you visit an ecosystem, you I think understand the intricacies of the ecological interactions which are out there,
Yeah,
and if you can feel that, then I think you have some emotions. Then you can say that okay, so conservation comes, in the picture then.
yeah,
But sitting away from that ecosystem and commenting about it just based on the knowledge that we have gathered through the textbook, or just by our opinions, I
yeah.
think that's not the right way to go about it. So Shruti, you have we had a very good interaction. I am really happy that we 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 could invite you and you could join us, and we had this amazing discussion with so many things that we learned about Northeast, so many things we learned about environmental education as a sector, environmental consultancy as a sector. So thanks a lot, Shruti, for being a part of People of Nature podcast.
Thank you. It's really, I'm also honored. I already mentioned that it's really good to talk with people, sharing your experiences. And I love this way of communicating people, because sometimes you're just like telling your own stories, then it's sometimes
Mhm.
it's boring. It's always interactive. It's better. People are learn from these experiences a lot. So all the best for your these initiative, and all the best who are listening this podcast. So I hope they are achieve more success in a field of conservation. Thank you.
Thank you, Shruti. Thanks a lot.